In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the Ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade, and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. This time, we're one little adjective away from having a whole sentence. And my guest today, who is clearly too young for this shit, is Megan Fox. Megan, is Tank Girl a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
Should be.
Good. Love it. Tell me why.
It should be remade because the original ran out of funds, was half done, had a half-cooked plot, and could be a lot more.
I think those are all excellent reasons. Cool. So tell me a little bit about you. What's your, I don't know, what do you do?
Well, I am a costumer, cosplayer, a prop maker. I go to Wasteland Weekend. Post-apocalyptic stuff is my favorite sort of genre. I also do comedy, sketch, improv, and...
Which is how I know you. And you are very funny.
Oh, thank you. You're also very funny.
Stop.
I think we met in a writer's room for a little sketch group.
I think we met at Senior Ditch Day.
Senior Ditch Day. Yeah, that's true. We did meet there.
I was just having a conversation with someone, and I was talking about the quote-unquote Senior Ditch Day movie that was supposed to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And I was talking about how I got assigned two different people to work with to write two different scenes.
Yeah.
And I ended up writing both those scenes on my own. And I was talking to someone, and they were like, you actually wrote your scene? And I was like, yes, someone asked me to do a thing.
I got really excited, and I sent a song that I wrote because I got the musical kids one, and so I sent a song I wrote to someone, and then I think she unfriended me on Facebook.
Oh God, that's awful.
And it wasn't immediate; it was a month after, but it was really
nonetheless. That's. I'm so sorry.
I did not care. It was okay.
All right. Well,
I think we'd already it. The project had already fallen apart a little bit.
Just sort of petered out.
I was just is this my fault? No, I think it's everyone's. I think we're okay.
Given time.
Yeah.
But Tank Girl.
How
did you first see Tank Girl?
I first saw Tank Girl. Let's see. I first knew about Tank Girl in 6th grade because the cool tomboy girls were really into it. The tomboy girls who would ask you lewd questions I
went to a Jewish day school. I don't think we had those.
I don't even know if I should say. It's we said it in 6th grade, but they were do you spit or swallow? And I was like, gum? You ask me if I spit out my gum? They were really into Tank Girl. So I then watched Tank Girl, I think, when I was in college. I think I found the DVD on Amazon, and then I bought it and I watched it, and I loved it, even though it's honestly kind of a terrible movie. It's a cult classic movie.
Yeah.
In that way.
And then you got into the comics, or you read the comics first and then watched the movie?
You know what? Actually, I think I did read the comics first. I remember, so I walked into Borders, R.I.P. Borders.
Yeah.
And I picked up 3 comics. I picked up Fell, which is Bill Willingham, and, oh my God, he draws all the squids.
I have internet. Do you want me to look it up? Possibly.
Ben Templesmith. Got it.
Ooh, beat me to it. Well done. He draws all the squids?
He draws all the squids. He actually produced a line of leggings with squid tentacles on them, and he's
a big anime fan? What's going on?
He wrote a big book called Squidder. Yeah, he's just very into cephalopods.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he's,
Hey, people like what they like.
It's a weird Australian. What do you want to do? But so I picked up that comic. I've also picked up another one of his, which I didn't realize was the same person. I was just picking things I liked. I picked up Wormwood Gentleman Corpse, which is Ben Templesmith's written, and he also did the art for it, comic. And then I also picked up a couple of issues. I picked up a Black Widow and a Tank Girl, and I loved Tank Girl. And funny thing was, on the back of Tank Girl there was an advertisement for Chew. Have you ever read Chew?
Oh, I thought you were talking about chewing tobacco.
No, it's another great
No, I don't know
comic
chew.
that would be great as a movie, except for the guy's a cannibal, and apparently that reads poorly.
Huh.
But yeah, no, after I read that one issue of Tank Girl, I got really into it. That was probably what made me buy the movie. I think that's the order of affairs.
My comic book background is fairly lacking, since I don't think outside of newspaper comics, I don't think I ever really read a comic book until college when the Watchmen movie was going to come out. I'm like, this Watchmen movie is going to come out. I have to read it first. And my school bookstore was selling it, so I bought it and I read it in a weekend, and then my school library had access to all of Sandman. I remember over a 2-week period, I read all of Sandman. But I just have a friend from back home in Tucson, Claire, who just slowly start introducing me to all of these new things. I'm like, you should read. She was like, you should read this, read this, read this, read this. And so that's the extent of the comics that I read. Just if Claire said I should read it, I read it. So that's how I got all of the Why the Last Man and Ex Machina and things by other writers possibly, but who knows. The one about the Pride. The one about the lions.
Oh, yeah, Pride of Baghdad?
Yeah, Pride of Baghdad.
Oh, yeah. So,
like that.
Pride of Baghdad and the other
Brian
one.
K. Vaughan.
Yes. Yeah, so you're a Brian K. Vaughan fan?
Yeah, it's basically all I've read.
So you should read Saga.
I've read Saga.
Okay, very good.
Or have been reading Saga.
Very good.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah, I agree. And then I've read a bunch of other things, too. They just don't immediately spring to mind. But, I love indie stuff like this. Mostly because, my comic reading was I wanted to read something that ended. I never was really interested in reading Flash or Green Arrow or whatever, just because I'm sure there is a good run on lots of these different things, but I'm always a person who likes starting something at the beginning and reading it until it's over, and comics don't do that a lot. But I don't know about Tank Girl. Is Tank Girl still running, or is it a full arc? What's the story?
It has a lot of different versions. Basically, Tank Girl started with, let me get my note.
And I also don't necessarily expect you to be the keeper of all Tank Girl knowledge.
I don't know all the names, but Tank Girl was started by Steve Cook, not Steve Cook, strike that. So it was started by Alan Martin. He was the original writer. He is the writer still. He is basically the showrunner of the comic.
It is still going, though.
It's still occasionally going. So since it's indie, you know how they basically just publish whenever they want to?
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Oh.
So there'll be a run every 2 years or so, and sometimes you'll be surprised because there'll be 3 in quick succession. But it was, let's see.
Whenever inspiration strikes?
Yes. As far as I can tell. It was Brett Owens, Jamie Hewitt, and Steve Dillon is what I'm looking at. And then Alan Martin.
I suppose I should specify for everyone listening that Megan actually brought a few Tank Girl comics. And this was the first time I'd ever really seen them. And the first thing I said when I opened it up is that it looked like one of the Gorillaz music videos. Mm-hmm. And you said?
I said, well, that's because the one you're holding was actually, the art was done by Rufus Dayglow, who designed the Gorillaz.
Which I think is amazing information, and
he's awesome. He's a kick-ass person, and I've had a couple of, nice chats with him, and we're still friends on, my Twitter and my Instagram I don't use anymore. But that whole, style that he has, it just fits really well, but so well to the point that, Alan Martin, I guess people thought that Rufus Dayglow was also the writer, or that was the perception that Alan Martin had, and that led to him no longer being on the comic.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
He was too famous?
Yes.
It's one of those things where someone might just be performing, but because they are who they are, everyone assumes that they're also the creator.
Yes.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly very good.
It's like a CeeLo Green, Gnarls Barkley thing. Because CeeLo wrote Crazy.
Yes.
Yes. And then Gnarls performed it, but everyone still knows Gnarls Barkley for performing it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh. At some point I should specify that I did really enjoy this movie. every once in a while I'll watch a movie and I'm just kind of like smiling through the episode like, yeah, no, it was great. But no, I legit enjoyed it. And some of the things that made it low budget, I actually thought were super fun. There's this aspect of the movie of when someone gets hit, it cuts to a comic book panel and shows the character, like the cartoon version of the character being hit. And I thought that was such a great conceit. And I really liked it.
Do you know why that was?
Because they couldn't actually show a woman getting hit in an 80s movie or whatever it was made?
It was made in 1995.
Or a 90 movie.
But I think it's more so because they ran out of money.
Uh-huh.
So because they ran out of money, they basically had to cut scenes as much as possible. So they were requiring, like, they were basically just writing the artist, like, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Like, can you do this establishing shot? Like, they just didn't have the money to shoot that stuff.
Yeah.
At least that's my understanding. If we're wrong, then, you know, reach out to me.
I liked it in the reaction things. At the beginning of the movie when it is the establishing shot, I didn't like that as much.
Yeah.
I liked it when it was, like, big emotions or some physical thing is happening, because splash panels, those things are always super cool about comics, and that's what's exciting about it. And I didn't necessarily see it as like a, hey, nudge, nudge, remember this is a comic book movie. I just more thought it was just a cool conceit, and I liked it.
Except for the resolution.
Remind me?
Like, the resolution's all animated, and you're like, cool, so I sit through a live-action movie this whole time just to see a bunch of animated stuff at the ending. Like, this feels incomplete.
Over the credits?
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of movies I like that have animated credits or have a different style of animation for the credits. I don't think that bothered me as much.
I just wish it was more.
Like, more in one direction or the other?
Like, no, just, I guess I wish it was, it's hard to explain because the story, like, the comic book doesn't really have a story. Like, it does. There's always, generally it goes around the lines of, like, okay, so Tank Girl wants something. She goes, she gets the thing, she loses the thing, she tries to get it again, someone else has it, and then she takes it back, and then they take it from her. It's along those lines.
Got it.
Using her sexual prowess and her drunkenness to, you know...
So it's less plot and lore motivated, and it's more motivated by whim?
Yeah, it's like...
And what'll make an interesting story today?
It's very punk rock.
Yeah.
It's very like, oh, that seems like fun, let's do it.
Cool. Nothing wrong with that. I like that.
It's good. But I felt like for the movie, though, there's things
It felt like they had to force it into the scope of a movie instead of it being a series of smaller adventures.
Yeah, and they had to force, like, some weird plot points on the part of Malcolm McDowell and the female villainess. Yeah,
Malcolm McDowell was weird, especially because when he gets sorta killed, I was like, oh, this is taking a turn. I find this interesting. What's happening? They've killed their villain already. What's next? And then he wasn't dead, and I was like, oh, okay. That's cool too, I guess. He's
not dead.
He's a hologram face?
Yeah, like everything else is normal, but he doesn't have a head anymore, but he still can walk.
Uh-huh, it makes total sense.
Total sense.
No, I'm definitely not shaking my head.
There's nothing weird about that. What's wrong?
No,
Sam,
nothing.
you okay?
I'm fine. Everything's great.
Yeah. I mean, what about that musical number? That musical number when they're birds do it, bees do it.
Oh, that was weird.
Right?
That was just weird.
Right?
I didn't understand what was going on.
Right? But you still enjoyed the movie.
I still enjoyed the movie.
And that's why it's a good remake.
It legitimately is. Because, I mean...
Or it would make a good remake, is what I'm saying.
So you talked about how you kind of wanted to build this movie, like tear this movie down and build it back from the ground up. What are the components of the movie that you want to keep?
So I equate it with, like, you have, like, a house with good bones, but the interior is just everything is all wrong.
Built on an ancient burial ground. Got it. Good bones.
I mean, you know, it needs remodeled.
Good.
So
I understand.
The parts that are good, I guess, are the craziness. I liked how colorful it was. I like the characters for the most part. I didn't like the script. It's hard to get around.
That's a huge part.
It's a huge part.
Did you like the cast they had?
Yes.
Okay.
Trying to cast what a reboot or like basically, trying to cast what a reboot would be was pretty difficult.
I agree.
Because Lori Petty does such a good job. She's so crazy.
I had to just like kind of sort of figure out what that character represented, and that character is just an agent of chaos.
Yeah. She's fun.
Yeah. She's an agent of chaos. She does what she wants, and she doesn't listen to anybody, and it's fun. She has the things she cares about, and that's it. She
drinks too much. She smokes too much. She farts. She makes gross jokes. She's lewd. She's crass. She's disgusting. And she's punk rock. She shaves her head. She wears a bra most of the time, like with no shirt. Like, she's just kind of like a bro if it was a hot Australian chick who ran around in a tank.
Do you want her to start the movie with the tank? Or do you want her to find it and fall in love like she did in this movie?
Well, the way it works in the comic is actually she doesn't work for Water and Power, but she essentially works for like an army.
Okay.
I think the general's name it's like Mr. Small Package or something like that.
Wow.
Like that's the guy in charge. And so she basically goes off and she runs bounties for them. So she'll go in the tank and she kills people. And then she's away too long, or basically something happens to her tank. I forget which of the two. And they basically fire her and they try to go after her. And that's when she's like, that's when she's
come after me.
Yeah. But she essentially stole a tank from the military.
Good. Love it.
Yeah.
So I think that should be the opening scene.
She steals a tank from the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Cool. So then talk to me about your version of what this movie should be. Like, what do you have in mind?
So my version of this movie would be, and this is difficult because I see like basically 2 or 3 different possibilities. One is you can go like a blockbuster route.
Okay.
And then the other is you can go a true indie route.
Okay.
And the other I'll get into a little later after I've talked about the blockbuster route.
Then I guess we'll start with this. So I'm actually going to look this up now because I don't know the answer. So do you happen to know what the budget was for the original Tank Girl movie?
I do not know.
Do you have a guess?
6 million.
Do you have another guess?
Is it more or less?
It's more.
It's more. 15 million?
It's more than that too. The budget for this movie was $25 million.
Wow.
And that's in 1995 money. And if they still ran out of money...
What did they do?
That's the question.
What did they do with the money?
I mean, they had to get jets and tanks and whatever.
Malcolm McDowell? Did Malcolm McDowell cost all that money?
I mean, I imagine Malcolm McDowell's expensive, but I don't think he's $25 million expensive.
Had Lori Petty been in a league of their own yet at this point? Like, did she have...
I still think of her as Point Break, but...
Yeah. Oh, that's right. She had done Point Break at this point. Okay.
Order of operations for Lori Petty is... She was in Free Willy. She was in Point Break.
Free Willy was after. Point Break would be before.
Free Willy is 1993.
Really?
Yep. Point Break is 1991. Free Willy is 1993. Tank Girl is 1995. Yeah, no, she wasn't the blockbuster A-list celebrity, but... Oh, no, there's A League of Their Own. Point Break, 1991. A League of Their Own, 1992. Free Willy, 1993. In the Army Now, 1994. Tank Girl, 1995.
Did this movie tank her career? Holy moly.
Because she's in... I don't really recognize a lot of the movies that come after this, because Countdown, Relax, It's Just Sex. The Arrangement is the one that I think stands out to me the most, but I don't know what MacArthur Park is. I don't know what Route 666 is. Pray for Rock and Roll, Broken Arrows, Cryptid.
Broken Arrows sounds familiar.
What's crazy is that she's in a movie called Chasing 3000. Now let me tell you about a movie called Chasing 3000.
Okay.
My senior year of college, I finally I should probably take a film class. So literally the way my college worked is you only take one class at a time. So literally the last class I took was Intro to Filmmaking. And I happened to pick a good time because the film department had a huge shakeup. Like one of their big dudes just left. And so we had a guest professor. And there's this dude named Greg Lannacy, who was this really nice guy, but he was a guest professor who was teaching this class. And just kind of a random guy. He runs a post-production house out in LA, and I should reach out to him because he keeps popping up in my life in weird ways, because the movie that I wrote that got made, his post-production house is what got hired to do post on it, just randomly. I didn't know, and he was like, did you write this movie? I'm like, I co-wrote it. Yeah, he's like, oh my god, that's amazing. And so Chasing 3000 is the big movie that he directed, and Lori Petty's in it.
Wow.
Just a random coincidence. And so that was in 2010, and then she did something in 2013 where it's Baseball Tanks and Bad Tattoos, an interview with Lori Petty. In 2016, she's in Dead Awake, and then she's in Fear, Love, and Agoraphobia in 2018.
And she also did Orange is the New Black.
That's what I was going to say. She was in Orange is the New Black 2014 to 2018.
She kicked butt in that.
She's done a couple of other episodes of TV here and there, but that's about it. I wouldn't say it tanked her career, which is your words, not mine.
It's too fun not to say.
Yeah, of course. I just don't think she was ever like kind of the A-list actor that you expect, although her star meter is at 1,588, so it's still not bad. That's top 5,000 or whatever, the actual... It's higher than Ice-T.
Wow. Yeah. Ice-T, another person in Tank Girl, which I kind of have a problem with the fact that all of the dingoes are black.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like this whole, like, let's have a circle dance scene.
That was so weird and uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
I mean, the thing that made me the most uncomfortable in this entire movie is the treatment of Jet Girl.
Yeah.
Because, boy, was this movie clearly made by dudes.
Oh, yeah. So it was written by a dude. So
of course it was.
I put the blame on that squarely on the dude, but it was actually directed by a woman. And,
was it?
It was. And I didn't think she did that terrible of a job. Considering the script. The script must have been absolute garbage.
Yeah.
We should go to the WGA, see what that looks like.
I mean, it would probably be an interesting read, because this poor... I mean, there's a reason that Naomi Watts doesn't say this was her first movie.
Oh, was this her first movie?
It was among them.
Oh, wow.
But I was talking to someone, they're like, yeah, no, she doesn't talk about being in this movie, because basically the entire movie, her role is she just gets really creepily hit on the whole time.
Yeah, almost raped, and then Tank Girl and she make out, which I think...
Do they? I don't remember that.
They do.
They do that thing to like, oh no, she's with me.
To keep the military guy from like
and
raping
he's all,
her.
oh, gross.
Oh, gross. I've never found two women kissing really hot.
Yeah. Clearly this was the 90s and they didn't get it yet. But...
they're like, oh, gross, and hush.
But yeah, no, I felt bad for her. And obviously, and every dude I've talked to who's watched this movie is like, oh, I had such a crush on Jet Girl. And I'm like, hey, totally get it. For sure. Mm-hmm. But also, poor her.
Yeah. I mean, whereas I had a big crush on Tank Girl.
I don't see why not.
Like, I would like to be her or be with her. Either one.
Either
totally
way.
Fine.
Cover the bases.
Very good with either one. Which I think that the funny thing about this movie is it kind of does live in, like, this subversive territory where it is, like, sort of queer-friendly, and yet it's not. It doesn't say anything about anything, but to me, like, it reads as Tank Girl is bisexual and maybe Jet Girl is bi-curious, but...
I got that impression as well.
Right. But nothing is ever said because it's the 90s.
In the 90s, and we're scared of this. We just got over the culture wars, and now everything has to go back to normal.
Right.
It has to be okay.
Like in the comics, how Tank Girl thinned out the kangaroo population.
Well played.
Thank you.
Did she actually?
Yeah, she did. She kind of accidentally on purpose ran... Like, in the beginning of the first Tank Girl, she... accidentally on purpose runs over and kills a whole bunch of people, including, like... Did I say dingoes? I meant kangaroos.
You said kangaroos.
I said kangaroos?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so she, like, runs over a bunch of the kangaroos, and there's just one that escapes, and that's Booga.
And so, in the comics, there's just one left?
There's not just one left.
It was one from that group.
One from that group.
Got it.
She, like, killed all of his friends, and then they, like... She, like, chases after him for a while, then she makes out with him.
Seems legit.
Yeah.
How many... Okay, in the comics, is he as dumb as he is in the movie?
He's not that dumb, but he's like... I mean, she's... they're both wild cards, to an extent. I think the most...
Chaotic neutral?
Yeah. I mean, I've never really thought about him, because I don't really care about him in the comics. There's one I haven't read that's that it's Tank Girl Odyssey, and I think it's when she like goes through she's like in a different reality or a different dimension or something, and I think she and Booga have a baby. I've seen a couple of cosplayers dressed as
a Booga baby.
Well,
a baby Booga.
The baby. There'll be a woman dressed as Tank Girl, and then there'll be a man dressed as Booga, and then they have a baby, and so it's like a really fun cosplay to like happen upon.
Look.
What?
I completely respect and I'm fully on board with that cosplay idea.
Mm-hmm.
On the condition that that baby is being carried in a pouch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. It should be.
Is it not?
It's not.
I'm out. I get that he's a male kangaroo or whatever, but still.
I just remember him, like, punching her in the face. And being
weird.
Really upset about that. Like, they have a really bad fight.
How many different sci-fi dystopian future things have there been where they'd be like, oh, there are these mutants and they're evil and crazy and they kill everybody and they eat people, and then it just cuts to no, that's not the case.
I mean, a lot.
I feel like every time that's been said, it's like, yeah, no, you guys are just prejudice. This is just a prejudice allegory. Like the one that immediately springs to mind is I Am Legend.
Oh yeah.
And then I know there are other examples, but I can't immediately think of them, but that's kind of almost always what happens. It's rare, unless it's like zombies. It's almost always like, oh, they have their own culture because they're people. I'm just trying to think of like who did it first, and if Tank Girl was around in the 1990s, it's possible, but
it can't be the first.
It can't be.
I mean, history's the first.
Sure, but then Tank Girl also, it's like, hey, they're all black dudes. They're all different black dude stereotypes.
It's not okay. So not okay. So, yeah, very not okay. Because I cast 3 Boogas, 2 of them are black dudes, 1 of them is not. So, my primary thing, so I guess getting back to it.
Yeah, so you have your big budget version, you have your indie version.
Yeah.
What is the budget that you see this at? Like, what is your... I mean, knowing that the original was $25.
I don't know how money works with movies. I'm not playing with that cash. The most I can hope to save up for anything is like $2,000, so...
Fair.
I don't know.
Well, the crazy thing is, I actually think $25 million is somewhat reasonable for a good indie movie. And if you're... Especially because graphics and everything has become so much cheaper to make. Like, I still think that's probably a good budget for what we want. Because I don't think this movie belongs as a big budget blockbuster. I don't think that's... I don't think Tank Girl would want to be in a big budget blockbuster.
So the way I basically see it going, my main cast would be based off of the Rufus Dayglow, the issues that he did the art for. It would be Booga, the kangaroo boyfriend, Jet Girl, the mechanic and pilot. I would change Sub Girl to Boat Girl, like it is in that series of the comics. And I would have Barney, who is my personal favorite side character.
First question. Subgirl was just the random older woman that they met randomly and then left and never saw again?
Random older woman? Look at the cast list.
I saw the cast list, but like, she wasn't there. She was in one scene in the movie?
Yeah, she's like a cameo.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that I knew who Subgirl was.
She has a larger presence in the book.
I assume so, because if there's a Tank Girl and a Jet Girl and a Boat Girl,
right.
I would imagine that Boat Girl's involved.
She and Tank Girl and Jet Girl all take baths together. Like, they're actually buddies.
Sure. Hey, if water's scarce, you gotta bathe together.
I mean, Sansa, Stark, and Arya did, like, over the course of Game of Thrones, so...
I don't remember that.
Mason Williams and Sophie Turner supposedly, like, got high in a bathtub after shoots.
Amazing.
Isn't that, like, amazing?
Some of my favorite things about Game of Thrones are just, like, the actors, once they're done actually doing the acting thing.
It must be exhausting, and you want to turn your brain off, and that's when you smoke weed in a tub.
Yeah, I feel like you'd have to.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, tell me about Barney.
So Barney is, like, she plays, I think she's a bassist, but I could be wrong. She plays guitar, and she drinks more, she smokes more, she's more of a fucking...
I don't care.
She's more of a problem.
You can swear as much as you want. That's
good, because Tank Girl curses a fucking lot.
Yeah, it's a movie with swears in it.
So...
We're not talking about Space Jam.
I don't know. So anyway, Tank Girl is like a problem basically as far as her substance abuse, but Barney is way worse. I think there's a issue where Barney just like goes missing and they have to go find her because they don't know where she's wandered off to or if she's been kidnapped or what's happening, and they think that she has this like golden egg. She has the MacGuffin and she's disappeared. So.
Sure, okay.
But yeah.
But it turns out that she just like took a bunch of drugs and just wandered like...
I forget how it turned out, which is kind of the whole thing with Tank Girl is like you remember the journey and you don't really remember what happened.
I think that's great.
It's kind of embarrassing. Like, but I am not the only one. I looked through all the Wikipedias today, like during my break at work, and there's literally nothing on anyone but Tank Girl and Jet Girl. It's insane.
Wow.
There's like almost nothing. And you go through the Wikipedia page and it almost like immediately redirects you to the movie. But this is a comic book that is so like it's such a cultural icon that the owner of I think it's House of Secrets up in Burbank. He actually opened that store because he wanted to be able to get these comics imported from the UK.
Wow.
Like, this is a cultural phenomena to a very small group of people who care way too much.
Well, maybe the people who...
I'm one of them.
Yes. Maybe the people who want to go to... What was the dystopic Mad Max festival in the desert?
Wasteland Weekend?
Maybe Wasteland Weekend attendees just aren't Wikipedia editors.
Maybe not. That sounds about right. We're too busy, like... spray painting and oxidizing metal and all the other weird stuff we do.
Witnessing people, all the things.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to witness. But the visual elements are mostly, so it's punk, it's disorganized, it's anarchic. I don't know how to say anarchic. I'm
going to go with anachronistic.
Sure, sounds great.
It's not the right word.
It's absurdist and it's psychedelic. So all of those elements are sort of hard to get across in a movie. But the first movie got that spirit. And then the plot elements are, it's kind of a stream of consciousness. It goes into metafiction. And then there's like no conventional plot or commitment to narrative. So that's why I said I would talk about it later. But that's why one of my ideas is basically like, if you're going to remake this, remake it so it's a series. Maybe a movie isn't how this story should be told.
Okay. One of the things that I miss from the 90s, and they've done it a little bit now, is I always really liked the big movie to introduce your characters, and you kind of have your Saturday morning cartoon in the middle to get you from one movie to the next movie. Mm-hmm. Like, they did that with Men in Black. They did that with a bunch of the Disney movies. They did that with... I don't know, lots of things. They did that with How to Train Your Dragon. And I always reference it because the Men in Black cartoon is one of my favorite cartoons.
I don't remember that.
And it has one of my favorite villains ever. And I think his name was A. And literally he was a villain who would go around stealing body parts from aliens and then grafting them onto himself, turning himself into this crazy, overpowered monster to the point where just his head was the only part of him left that was human. And he's just like, he's an agent gone nuts. That's why he's A as opposed to like L and K, who were and I was like, I just always really liked that concept of someone who was like, yeah, we're human, but all these other dudes have all these amazing bits and pieces. I want that.
That's really cool.
We can do that. And then Z being like, no. And A is being like, I'm out of here, buddy. And, I mean, there were other things that the TV show did, too. I just remember really liking it. And I like the idea, and part of the reason why I liked it is I like the concept of there being a single unifying story that gets us started. But if it's someone like Tank Girl who kind of has the week-to-week adventure, I don't see any reason why, like, you have your big Tank Girl movie, and then there's the Tank Girl series on Adult Swim, which is the only place where you could do a Tank Girl series. Oh, yeah,
it would fully be Adult Swim. And actually, if I was to suggest a showrunner, I would go with a female writer who currently works on Family Guy and The Orville. Her name, I'm going to massacre this, I'm so sorry. Cherry Cheva Pravatdermrong. Her whole name doesn't fit on one page or one line on my IMDb, so that's my best.
Spell her last name?
ChevaPravatdumrong. Oh, and trivia, it says her surname is pronounced Chevra Pravat Doomrong.
There you go.
Thanks, IMDb.
Thanks, IMDb.
Can I get on the boat when you do the Comic-Con party? Thanks, IMDb.
IMDb has a... There she is.
They have like this really cool yacht party.
Is it called the IMD boat?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah! Okay. That's amazing. Sheva Prava Tumdumrong. It's an impressive name. It is not the longest last name I've ever seen, but it is very close.
Yeah, but she's a producer and a writer, and she clearly knows how to take a story that's not really a story and is just a bunch of random interludes and craft that into something that's watchable.
I mean, even some TV shows have done it. I mean, that's what Firefly did. They had their original 2-hour-long episode that's basically a movie, and then it sort of ends in a movie, which was planned all along.
Sabrina's kind of like that, too.
Oh, yeah?
A little. I mean, it feels like that. I don't know if it actually is. But the first season felt like a movie.
Buffy's unintentionally like that as well.
True. Very true.
Although, my understanding is that the TV show, the canon of the original TV show is the original Joss Whedon script and not the actual movie that got made.
Wow.
Because there's a whole bunch of stuff, and they're just like, yeah, no, go read it if you want, but you don't need to bother watching stuff. I don't know. That's what I heard.
Fascinating.
So because it's a movie podcast, I'd say let's try and stick with a movie if we can.
Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to there being crazy, convoluted, different plot lines, and then we follow some, drop others.
Yeah. No, I'll continue with the movie stuff. So if it's like an actual blockbuster movie, if you want to pour some money into it, I started thinking about first who I would want to play Tank Girl, because to me that's the biggest, most important thing.
Talk to me about what those concepts are. What do you want to happen in the movie?
So I would want it to be basically like a girl bro comedy. So we've seen this be successful with like TV shows like Broad City, with movies like Bridesmaids, and I would actually... Well, there's others that I can't think of right now. But I would want it to be like a really cool, like college age going female raunchy like comedy for like women to see other women like them allowed to be like gross and funny and weird and like go on a crazy adventure like drunk and stoned, and where the characters don't really know what's going on, but there they go. So I guess it's like a female stoner comedy that takes place in a post-apocalyptic setting.
And I'm on board for that, because that's just a fantastic thing. So, okay. And then let me talk for a second about just like things for them to do. I had the thought, and I totally forgot about it, that it was like a post-apocalyptic stoner comedy girl Wizard of Oz. I mean, awesome. Yeah, because it's a series of tiny little adventures before they get to the big adventure, but then that doesn't really matter because it's all about the little adventures they had along the way.
And she collects her friends along the way, too.
I like it. Mm. One of the kind of ideas that I had is just this concept of... What was the group called that Booga was in? What was the actual... like
The Rippers.
Rippers, thank you. The Rippers are like this, we're super scared of these like mutants that the government made, something. And I just have this idea of Tank Girl being like, I want to go punch one. No, they're going to kill you. Yeah, but I'm going to punch one first. And just like, that's how they go meet them. And like, instead of, and she definitely like just socks one. And instead of it being like we're terrified of these things, she's the one person who's not. And then it turns out that she was right accidentally.
And in the comic book, it's because she's drunk all the time.
Yeah. Here's my question for you. In the comics, Department of Water Power, they control the water, right?
Yeah, they exist. And I think she kind of works but I think that it's more the army than anything else.
Mm. So if they're in this post-apocalyptic desert landscape, who's manufacturing the booze? This is just a city planning kind of thing.
It's never really answered in post-apocalyptic movies.
Huh.
It's,
because everyone always seems to find booze.
Yeah, I mean, even A Boy and His Dog, they just seem to find food sort of buried.
It's a very video game-esque thing of Just have to get to the right checkpoint and it'll be there.
Yeah, you just have to, like, dig in the sand for 15 minutes and you'll probably find some beans or something.
And rupees.
And maybe some beer.
I'm not going to worry about it. It just occurred to me in the moment. And I was like, it seems like a thing.
No, that's a good question. We shouldn't think about it.
So then let's do this. I would suggest that the first adventure is her taking the tank. And when she's doing that, she finds Jet Girl. And so the second adventure is going with Jet Girl to get Jet. And then they find Sub Girl there. And then you kind of using that to do the next thing after the next thing.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then I don't necessarily know that there needs to be a big bad. I like the idea of there being a big bad in the sense that Tank Girl represents chaos and chaos is fun and why don't we want to have fun? And then
the opposite should be order.
Order. I mean, that's who Malcolm McDowell is he wants to control everything. Like there's a section of land. He wants the water underneath, but basically he just wants to run everything and make it the government system. And if my understanding of anarchy is correct, fuck the government?
Yeah, that's about right.
Cool. All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, nailed.
Wow.
So something along those lines is kind of what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. In my head, I now kind of just want to design the tank, but no. Okay. So with that in mind, then, it's really more just about the people we meet along the way. So let's start going in and talking about casting. So You said it's all about Tank Girl, right? Like we need to find the best person who can be an agent of chaos and represent this insanity.
And I started thinking this whole thing's supposed to, like, one of the bigger adventures is the Australian adventure, and, like, you know, maybe try to cast some Australians. That would probably be kind of cool, being that they're in Australia.
In retrospect, would have, yeah, I agree. I don't think I might have cast an Australian. I don't know her background.
So I mean, it takes place in Australia, but there's so many, like, punk Brit elements. There's a lot of, like, British influence. So that was another thought. And then the other big criteria for me is it has to be someone who seems to come off a little unhinged, might be a little bit crazy, like in a great way.
Sure.
Because genius and crazy. But so that got me thinking, like, maybe Cara Delevingne, maybe Aubrey Plaza, maybe Jennifer Lawrence. And then I was like, well, Emma Stone has really good crazy eyes and she's totally, like, easy to work with. But then I started thinking Australian, like I said, and I went Margot Robbie.
I thought you might.
Yeah?
Yeah, I got nothing against Margot Robbie. She plays a good crazy, and she's certainly the crazy person of the day.
And she can do an action movie.
I agree. She can, and I think Margot Robbie is actually underrated.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's a better actress than she's often given credit for because she's like, oh, she's the bombshell. Like, I saw, and now I'm going to blank on the name of the movie. What was the name of the movie where she's an ice skater?
I actually was trying to think of it just now, and I was having issues.
I, Tonya.
Yeah.
She's so good in I, Tonya.
So good.
And
so heartbreaking.
It's just devastating. But it's a little bit of that manicness and then also a little bit of the Harley Quinn thrown in. I don't have a problem with casting Margot Robbie. Let me tell you about my person.
Uh-huh.
I wanted someone who came from a world of sexual freedom, a world of ridiculous comedy, and a world of just batshit insanity. So if I take Masters of Sex, The Dictator, and Party Down, I'm going to get Lizzie Kaplan.
Oh, nice.
And also because it's a fairly white movie. Although Lizzie Kaplan, I think, is also white. I don't know. And I don't know. I don't remember people and what they look like sometimes.
You don't see race?
I often don't, and it's been a problem for this sometimes.
I'm sorry.
But that's who I had in mind, just because I thought that she could also go crazy, and because at the end of the day, the person that you want to play Tank Girl, you are going to ask this actress to shave her head. And I think either Margot Robbie or Lizzie Kaplan for this role, I think, might do it. Because it'd be great.
Margot Robbie also has the eyebrows, but so does Lizzie Kaplan. They both have great eyebrows. Tank Girl's all about the eyebrows.
Yeah, that's what acting is. It's just good
it's
eyebrows. I like the idea of Margot Robbie simply because she can do crazy and also because I'd also thought of her.
Hey!
But since it's set in Australia, it makes sense to cast an Australian. And Lizzie Kaplan was born in Los Angeles. So.
That's fine, maybe.
Let's go with Margot Robbie.
Did you cast Jet Girl?
I cast Tank Girl, Jet Girl, Sam, Sub Girl, Kesley, Sergeant Small, Booga, T-Saint, DT, and then the writer-director. And I have a production designer.
Oh, wow. I didn't think of that one.
It's rare for me to pull a production designer, but for this one it made sense.
Yeah, it does.
Then let's talk about Jet Girl.
Jet Girl, I wanted someone who... They have to look interesting without doing anything. Jet Girl is sometimes described as being kind of boring because she's just very mechanical. And so I wanted someone who looks like they have a lot going on when they actually are just doing something really simple. So you're like, oh, what are you thinking? And they're like, I want a beer.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I went with Hannah John Kamen, who was...
Tell me about Hannah John Kamen.
She was the antagonist in Ant-Man and Wasp, the one that was constantly going through the different dimensions and portals.
I liked her.
Yeah, I did too. So you're automatically interested in what she's doing because she's... I don't know, she's just got some presence to her. As to what she's doing now, I do not know.
I also cast a British actress.
Mm-hmm.
I also cast someone who has a very compelling stoic face and who also can play mechanical very well.
Who did you cast?
Karen Gillan.
Nice.
I also pulled from Marvel.
Nice pun on play mechanical.
Yeah, I liked it. As soon as he said that, I was like, oh, this one's for me. Because she was in Jumanji 2 and she's great and she's super duper funny and she's in Marvel. She's, blanking on the name of her character, but she plays the robot daughter of Thanos. She's in Doctor something.
Doctor Who?
Never heard of it. And I also think that she's just an incredibly compelling actress. And I think that she's able to kind of like play the victim, but I also think she'd be able to be like, oh no, you don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
And I feel like she'd be able to do that very well. So that's why I pulled Karen Gillan.
Nice.
But what do you think between the two of them?
You know, I think we've seen Karen Gillan play comedy before, which at least I haven't from Hannah John Kamen. I only saw her in Ant-Man and Wasp.
I'm looking at her IMDb right now. Let's see if she is Ornella in the HBO series Game of Thrones. Oh, I know who that is. Ant-Man and the Wasp. She's in Tomb Raider. She's in Ready Player One. She's in something called Killjoys. She's in Black Mirror. She's in a show called Banana. And she's also in a show called Cucumber. Don't know what that means.
Banana Cucumber.
They're two different shows.
They sound like they might be funny shows.
They're probably related.
Oh, wait. Was she in the episode of Black Mirror? Was she in San Junipero? Does it say?
No.
Oh.
She's in Playtest and 15 Million Merits.
Oh, 15 Million Merits was the one with, what's her name? Who was in Jurassic World? I
don't know.
I forget her name. It's just tragic because someone told me I looked like her once, so I should remember it, but I don't remember. I don't think if 15 Million Merits has the person you're thinking of, because the top star meter is Hannah John Kamen, followed by Jessica Brown Findlay, then Daniel Kaluuya, Rupert Everett, Julia Davis, Matt Stokey. Oh, you're right. That's the one
Isabella
where they're
Laughlin.
on the treadmills, and then there's like a singing show.
Oh, that's the episode. I have a movie pitch in the first couple of scenes. Someone's like, oh, it's like that Black Mirror episode, and this is the Black Mirror episode. It's not like that, but like, it's as a power source, and how many different power sources can there be?
Oh.
So I guess, no, it's not that.
Well then, she's in two of my lesser favorite Black Mirrors. Sorry, Hannah. I think Karen Gillan might win, but I also almost don't want her to because she's also white.
That is true.
Why Tank Girl so white?
Because Australia? The youngest of 3 children of a Nigerian forensic psychologist father and a Norwegian fashion model mother.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beauty and smarts.
Yep. Good combination.
Mm-hmm.
Let's come back to that then. We'll see who kind of fits in with the rest of our cast.
Okay.
We didn't talk about this at all, but there's a kid in this movie.
So weird.
It's weird.
Why?
I don't know. I have casts for the kid just in case you decide you need a kid, because I guess you have to decide that if you have a female protagonist, they have to care about children because that's what women are for.
I feel like they did that just so people wouldn't be like, yeah, but she's a woman, so doesn't she have like a nurturing instinct? No. Tank Girl doesn't. No.
No, that's dumb.
That was unnecessary.
If anything, I feel like it'd be funny if there was a kid and then Tank Girl sold her.
Yeah, who's the kid in case Tank Girl sells her?
So the actress I have is an actress named Bronte Carmichael.
Okay.
You will know her from the movie Christopher Robin and also from Game of Thrones.
Wait, what was she in Game of Thrones?
I think she was the little girl that Varys goes, the one who was working in the kitchen.
Oh, the little girl tried to poison little Daenerys. Oh, she was so cute.
She was cute.
I like her.
Little girl, and I just thought that'd be fun.
Yeah, no, that is fun. That
cool.
was a good job. Fun.
Thank you.
We'll sell her.
Yes, we will sell her.
For the MacGuffin.
Excellent. She is the MacGuffin.
What if she is? Yeah. Oh, you're right, though. She is the MacGuffin in the movie.
Yeah.
Holy wow.
Yeah. You made a woman, in fact, a small child's woman, a MacGuffin. It's Hollywood.
Women don't have agency.
No, don't be silly. If you have a female character, she has to care about children.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Subgirl. So my initial thought for Subgirl was I had this crazy idea like, hey, remember Xena? Didn't she have a buddy? That's sort of what Subgirl's like. And so I went and looked up that actress, and it's Renee O'Connor. And I was like, okay, cool, that's a good person. And then I looked up more stuff about Renee O'Connor.
And?
She's real Christian now.
Oh, boy.
Like, she hasn't done that much recently, but it's all Jesus-y.
Well, good for her.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I crossed that name out.
Yeah.
And the Subgirl I went with is someone who plays crazy very well, also a slightly older actress, and someone who we'd be like, oh, that's fun. Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh, she was also on my list, but somewhere else.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Who do you have for Subgirl?
For, I actually changed Subgirl
to Boat Girl,
and I had Rebel Wilson.
Done. Sold. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. And again, Australian.
Initially, though, I was thinking Miley Cyrus would have a cameo.
Oh.
It's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny.
And,
I like Rebel Wilson more, though.
Yeah, I do, too.
I think Rebel Wilson is really good at playing the zany side character.
Really good.
Yeah. That brings me to Kesley, the agent of order. And since I was already thinking Xena, why not Lucy Lawless?
That's actually pretty good.
And just because, you want someone who's tough and who's, because the person who can take out, a crazy, person is the tank. And Lucy Lawless is a tank. She could, if anyone could beat up Tank Girl, I feel like it'd be Lucy Lawless.
I'm just thinking of her in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
She's scary in that.
Yeah.
It was great.
She's amazing.
Yeah. I love it.
Who did you have for Kesley? Did you cast Kesley?
I didn't cast Kesley.
Lucy Lawless. Yes.
Yeah. That sounds good. That sounds better to me.
Good. I like it.
I cast, as a random villain TBD, decided later, was Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh, you did have Helena Bonham Carter.
I did, as, the anti-Tank Girl who is basically also Tank Girl.
Yeah. I mean, sort of. That's great.
Yeah.
Just a random villain who's crazy literally the crazy lady who's living out alone in the desert who just shoots at them you can't take my water. You don't have any water. You can't have it.
There's nothing I love more than watching Helena Bonham Carter play, Unhinged.
Yeah.
So fun.
It's so magical and wonderful.
Gosh, so fun. And then you won't have this one, but I cast Barney.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I skipped Barney. She's
It's
at the bottom of my list. Tell me about Barney.
So Barney is, more out there than Tank Girl, and so I went with Awkwafina. Because
Awkwafina's a good choice.
Instead of playing guitar, she could do hip hop, she already knows how to do. You hit that 90s nostalgia place.
Does there need to be a song in this movie?
There doesn't need to be a song, but I might want to put one in there just because they already put two in there. But this one would probably get cut off, and then there'd be a bar fight, and then Barney would go crazy. And I would love to see Awkwafina play a character that's getting in a bar fight, because that would be probably pretty fun.
She's a good wild card.
She's fun.
I've never been upset to see her in a movie. She's amazing.
And just I love her voice so much.
Yeah.
It's like your friend who slept on your couch and then is allergic to your dog, so she's just yeah, well.
That's a good pull. I really like Awkwafina for this.
Plus her name is Water, and water's scarce.
Yeah. So you gotta hold her close.
It's true.
You probably don't have a Sergeant Small then.
I don't.
Because we need to have a shitty person that we don't care about who can be, like, just a real creeper really well.
Oh, I just realized Sergeant Small.
Yeah.
That's the same as Sergeant, like, Small Package, but they shortened it.
Well, they probably just didn't give him his last name.
Yeah, that's true. Too bad.
So, I cast an actor named Thomas Wilson. Do you know who that is?
No.
He was in a movie called Mosaic. He's in something called Housebroken. He's in the most recent season of Legends of Tomorrow, which I love Legends of Tomorrow. Also, he's Biff in Back to the Future.
Oh, Biff.
Yeah.
Oh, Biff.
Yeah, he can make like a tree and get out of here.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
And I just think like he's older, so he should not be hitting on these younger women, and so it's funny when they just kick his ass.
Well, Andy's gonna get mad at Tinkle for stealing his tank. So
yeah, and also I think that he just like a total sycophant to the Kesley Lucy Lawless characters. Like, go over there. Yes, ma'am. Like she says jump, he says how high.
Yes, I like this. That's a good choice.
Cool. Let's talk about Booga then.
Oh boy. So I feel like in my version, it's definitely CGI. We don't need to dress up adult black handsome men in kangaroo costumes. It's demeaning, dare I say.
I agree, but I also really enjoy prosthetics.
I do too.
And I feel like you can go both ways of, like, you can do the full CGI Planet of the Apes, like just someone walking around in a ping pong ball suit.
Yes. That.
I also like the idea of, because they used to be human and then they were experimented on and combined with kangaroo DNA, right? Because the whole T. Saint character is like, what did you used to be? I was a cop. Of course you were. And I kind of like the idea that it wasn't necessarily successful for all of them. Like, some of them, it's, like, really good. They look like they're well-balanced and kangaroo. Some of them are just, like there's different stages of, like, completion of kangaroo-ness. And I would love it if, like, because I cast 3 of them, and then for the 4th, I would just like there to also be a kangaroo. What was his deal? He ran a bakery, but put too much kangaroo, and now he's a kangaroo, and they just don't think he's going to do anything, and just randomly like, come on, buddy, it's going to be okay. We got to hop on over here. You're one of us.
Is his name Jack?
It is now. So just like a random kangaroo, like CGI or not, I just wanted that. That's like, you can have the person who just has a tail, the person who looks like the I keep wanting to say look like the Boogas. Look like the Rippers.
The Rippers.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
That's because we only care about Booga.
Yeah, well, it's also, I think Boogas is something else where, like, it's a race of bad guy people. I don't remember.
What, Booga?
Like, there is something where, like, the bad guys are Boogas, but I don't remember what.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Who did you have for Booga?
Whew. So if they still want to...
Because keep in mind, you can still have a real actor wearing the ping pong balls, because that's what they do for, like, Mark Ruffalo when he's playing the Hulk.
So my first thought was Donald Glover, and then I was like, that's racist.
Yeah. A little bit.
But it's just like, he has so much energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember when he was playing, like when he was on Community? Like, him and Abed just, like, were such quick talkers, and I freaking love that. So he can handle, like, high energy, fast-paced script, which might be fun for Booga. Like, if he's constantly, like, yammering on, and the Tank Girl's like, yeah, it's fine. Just grab a flamethrower. What are you doing? But then I started thinking, like, again, I would like to have an Australian. I tried, and there are actually, like, I could have a Hemsworth.
You could.
But then again, I'm like, but it would be kind of great to also, like, I don't necessarily want that character to be someone of color, but if I want to make Tank Girl less white, then I was thinking actually Franz Drama. I think that's how you say his name, from Edge of Tomorrow or Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Who is he in?
He's a British actor. He plays, not sure because I don't watch it.
Spell his name?
Franz Last name Drameh.
Actor from Attack the Block. Oh, him. I like him. He's Australian?
No, he's British.
I
couldn't find any Australian actors of color. I had an extremely hard time because apparently Australia has major problems with that.
With race? In general? Yes.
In general. It's like 12% of their actors are like of color, which seems much worse than the United States.
Australia's treatment of the Aboriginal people in general is very bad.
Its treatment of women is also not great.
Australia is secretly very American.
They would hate that.
I know.
And then I also wrote down, I think this is just me Googling people at work. Richard Ayoade?
I love Richard Ayoade.
I don't know how to pronounce things, but that was my other choice. But
he would be a better DT, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah. I love Richard Ayoade. He's great. I've used him a bunch of times before for this. We'll come back. Let's put a pen in Richard Ayoade. My booga is, I wanted someone who could kind of, because I was just kind of going with the essence of who they are, like someone who appears burned out, but is actually a little bit more competent than you would think. And I also didn't go with a black person. I also didn't go with an Australian person.
Either go black or you go Australian. There's one or the other.
I chose neither. So I went with Dave Franco.
Who's Dave Franco?
It's James Franco's younger brother. He's from Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. He's in Scrubs. He's a disaster artist.
Oh, cool.
And I never want to cast James Franco in anything, but I like Dave Franco.
Oh.
He's the one in this picture that's not Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, okay. He's not Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah, he looks like he's imitating a squirrel there.
He might be. Who can say? He's on the Late Show with James Corden. James Corden could be having them do anything.
And he sat next to Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
Dave Franco has actually had a pretty cool career. Like, he's in If Beale Street Could Talk. He's in The Disaster Artist. He's in Little Hours. He's in something called Nerve, but I don't know what that is. He's in Now You See Me Too. He's a voice on BoJack Horseman. He was really funny in Other Space briefly. He's just gotten to do a bunch of different things, and he's one of those people who... So there was a 9th season of Scrubs that was the worst thing that ever happened to me.
I still haven't watched it.
Don't.
People warned me.
They were right.
Good.
And I hate that season of Scrubs.
I'm sorry.
But Dave Franco is in it.
Oh.
And I hate that season of Scrubs for a lot of different reasons. And I start hating him. But by the end of the season, he's my favorite character. Because he plays just like kind of this stoner bro. And you just dismiss him out of hand, like, oh, that's just who he is. And he just keeps showing more and more depth, both in character and as a person. And I found that so fascinating because he immediately has we have these expectations of him, and then he just defies those, but then also feels like he has to still live up to those expectations because that's just what everyone has expected of him his entire life. And especially as the younger brother of James Franco, I can imagine that that's very real for him. Also, he's married to Alison Brie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I just find them cute. And so he's from California. So if there's anyone who's going to be...
Hemsworth. It's a Hemsworth. No, I'm just kidding.
That wasn't even any of our options.
It was sort of my option. But then I was like, I don't know. But then I realized I have, Booga doesn't need to be a black guy. It's super weird.
Now, I love Franz Drama because I've seen Legends of Tomorrow, and it's great, and he's great. But for this, I would say, let's go with Dave Franco.
Let's do it.
Did you do T-Saint or DT at all?
Did not.
Okay. My DT, which was kind of the leader, I did Leslie Jones.
Ha! Yes!
Because I think that's funny.
Oh
I think she'd be funny. And then my T-Saint is in Percy Jackson. He's also in Tropic Thunder. It's an actor named Brandon T. Jackson.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
It's a good enough reason.
I just think we can see him in more things. But yeah.
More things.
But in terms of cast, did you have any characters left before we get into writer-director?
No, that's it.
Then let's go back and talk about Jet Girl. Between the two that we have, who do you think fits better with all the rest of the cast that we've pulled so far? that will play better with Margot Robbie and Rebel Wilson and Lucy Lawless and whoever. Who do you think will play better with them?
I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot. Probably Karen Gillan, but then we cast all white people.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So then that's a good reason to go with Hannah John Kamen.
Sorry, Karen Gillan. I still love you.
Yeah. Good. So, cool. Then that just leaves us with writer and director. I have a female writer and I have a female director.
Samesies.
Do you have a writer-director or it's separate?
Separate.
Cool. Let's start with writer.
So, I kept thinking about a bunch of writers that I like, and unfortunately they were all men, and it was really frustrating. And I was like, well, who's a female Edgar Wright? I need the female Edgar Wright. Damn it. And so then I was going through movies I like, and Nicole Perlman is who I came up with.
Tell me about what Nicole Perlman has done.
So she has, she's one half of the writing team for Guardians of the Galaxy, one half of the writing team for Captain Marvel, and she's currently working on the reboot, which I wish was never happening, of Labyrinth.
Yeah, I should eventually do that episode. Anyway, because it's a remake that's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
There's nothing any of us can do to stop it.
Whew. Yeah, I've used Nicole Perlman before because she's great. What did she do for Detective Pikachu?
I think
she wrote Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, she wrote the story.
Awesome. That's
Did
amazing.
you enjoy Detective Pikachu?
I did.
Oh my god, your smile is so adorable right now.
I liked it. She's awesome. I also had someone who's written comic book movies, but DC comic book movies.
Oh.
She is in the process of writing Birds of Prey. She also wrote Bumblebee, and she also wrote Shut-In. So she kind of has the action, she kind of has the horror, and it's a writer named Christina Hodson.
Cool. God, I'm still thinking about that Karen Gillan choice. That was hard.
Yeah, gotta make some tough choices sometimes. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. That's a fun title. So she's writing that, Bumblebee. She got a special thanks for, I think, the Netflix version of Death Note, which that's probably not helpful. She hasn't done as much. She's a writer on something called Unforgettable and then Shut-In. And honestly, that's kind of it.
Is she good at making...
She's also the new writer for Batgirl.
Oh, cool.
She is the one replacing Joss Whedon.
Oh, interesting.
Because it was originally Joss Whedon and then stuff came out and then they were like, how about not a dude?
What? Not a dude? Who is that?
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
Not a dude?
I don't know.
I've never heard that name before.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't come up around here. But yeah, so that's who I had. And obviously they're both great. And I've for sure used Nicole Perlman before because I love everything she's done, apparently.
She does...
I love everything she's ever done.
Zany, and she does crazy, and just like the dialogue with Rocket Raccoon, I don't know who was responsible, but she must have been responsible for some of it because it worked.
Yep. The only... I don't know. I love both of them. The only reason I don't want to go with Nicole Perlman is because I've used her so many times, and that's why I'm leaning more towards Christina Hodson. So let's talk about director. Mm-hmm. My director I have used before, but only once, and I think a long time ago. She was the director on a movie called Green Street Hooligans, and she also was the director on Punisher Warzone. So she's done kind of the action movie. She's done kind of the indie movie, and it's a director named Lexi Alexander.
I don't know her.
Those are kind of the big things she's known for. Let me pull her up as well. She's currently in development on a project called Crossface and You Bury Me, which is a TV movie. But she did these cool things and then kind of hasn't really broken through. Like, she directed a couple episodes of SWAT, Get Away with Murder, Taken, American Gothic, Limitless, Supergirl, Arrow. She's done all these things, like an episode of this or that here and there, but she hasn't really been given her, like, here's your big movie, go. I mean, theoretically, that might have been Punisher Warzone, but I don't think that was, strictly speaking, her fault. And so I think that this would be a good opportunity for her to... She's a former world karate and kickboxing champion.
Wow, don't mess with her.
Yeah.
Cool.
She found her calling to become a filmmaker while traveling around the world competing and teaching martial arts seminars. I didn't know that. Now I'm going to pretend like I did. And she's from Germany. I don't know.
Cool.
She's not American. But yeah, that's who I had.
I had Rachel Talalay.
Tell me about Rachel Talalay.
Well, she directed the original movie of Tank Girl.
Oh.
She also has directed episodes of Doctor Who. She's also directed episodes of... I don't have the list in front of me. She directed Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, Tank Girl. She's directed episodes of Sherlock. She produced Crybaby.
She's director on a couple episodes of Riverdale.
Yeah, that was one I thought was funny. But she's a genre director.
Oh, she did The Borrowers in 1997, immediately after doing Tank Girl. She did Ghost in the Machine in 1993, and then she didn't do anything else until 2009. She did Doom Patrol?
She's done one episode of Doom Patrol.
She was doing a bunch of TV in the middle. Ally McBeal, Crossing Jordan Without a Trace, The Division, Touching Evil, Supernatural, Greek, Kyle XY, Flash Gordon.
Continuum, did you ever watch that one?
No.
It was great.
Was it?
Sexy lady cop from the future, living in futuristic Canada. She had an episode of Chilling Tales of Sabrina.
Very nice. Chapter 6, An Exorcism in Greendale. All right.
Genre stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and if she directed the first one, I like that idea. I like the idea of pulling her back in and saying, hey...
It wasn't your fault.
It wasn't... Well, and I thought the direction was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was... maybe a script issue, but, like, I would absolutely give this back to her. I think that's a great idea. And I do like that you pulled in a bunch of Australians. That's something I didn't even think of, and I always... like when you do that research, and I liked it. But in that case, let's go with Christina Hodson to write it.
Okay.
And then the last person that I had was just the production designer, just because this person did Mad Max Fury Road, Babe, Pig in the City, and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Oh, goddamn. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I'm sold. Who is it?
Colin Gibson.
Yeah, I'm sold. You're
cool.
As soon as you said Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, I mean, you had me at Mad Max, but then, yeah.
I mean, basically what Tank Girl does to the tank, I'm like, it's a Mad Max tank now.
Yeah. Let's get this movie made. What do we have to do?
Let's do it.
Just raise $25 million?
Yeah, that's it. It's all it'll take. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be good.
So let me walk you through who we've got. Tank Girl. Tank Girl 2000. Tank Girl will be played by Margot Robbie. Jet Girl will be Hannah John Kamen. Sam, who will be immediately sold for booze money, will be played by Bronte Carmichael. Kesley will be Lucy Lawless. Sergeant Small is Thomas F. Wilson. Booga will be Dave Franco. T-Saint is Brandon T. Jackson. DT is Leslie Jones. Subgirl is Rebel Wilson. And Barney is Aquafina. All of this will be written by Christina Hodson, directed by Rachel Talalay, and production designed by Colin Gibson. That is our new Tank Girl.
We did it!
Megan, are you going to go watch this movie?
Yeah, I'm going to watch the heck out of this movie.
All right. I love it. Cool, we did it. So, tell people about your amazing podcast, and also whatever else you'd like to plug.
Oh, sure. I host a Game of Thrones podcast. We were going over what was going to happen at the end of the episode, guessing what was going to occur based on some book stuff and previous episodes. But
Hashtag book stuff.
Huh?
Hashtag book stuff.
Hashtag book stuff. But now that the series is over, what we're going to be doing is next week we have an excerpt that you were kind enough to give to the podcast of what Game of Thrones means to you. Am I right?
I believe I did that.
Yes,
that sounds like a thing
you
I did.
Do that. So that's what we're doing next week. And then after that, we'll be talking about every episode, one episode at a time in 20 to 40 minute segments, and how... like the clues in that episode, the clues to the ending, basically, that were in those episodes.
Interesting. So it's a rewatch from the beginning. Like, okay, all right, cool. So there's White Walkers here. Does that come through in the ending?
It's kind of more like,
oh man.
Dany says she's gonna burn all those people. Like, I wonder. Oh yeah, that makes sense with the ending. Yeah.
Oh man, what is Ned's here? Oh man, he has to go to the Capitol? Oh, I wonder how that's going to affect the ending.
And I mean certain phrases like one of my favorites is you can rule with fear, with love, or with gold. And that had some pretty good follow through. Cersei, she rules with gold, and Daenerys rules with fear, and Jon Snow rules with love. So there you have it.
There's your 3.
Little things like that. You can find us anywhere you can find podcasts, and we're at the Pointy End Pod on Twitter, at the Pointy End Podcast, pretty much everywhere else. And
if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, you should really be listening to this podcast, because it's more Game of Thrones, and who doesn't want that?
Pretty much everybody wants that.
It's going back to why we love Game of Thrones, and who doesn't want that? There we go. That's it.
Figuring out where it all fell apart.
Oh. But what other Instagram, Twitter do you want people to follow for, like, you as a person?
Yeah, you can follow me, my weird cosplay comedy adventures at The Rose Fox. It sounds like a restaurant, but it's not. It's just my Instagram, and that's just @ and then Rose and then Fox. Should be pretty easy, but if you can't figure it out, that's okay. I'm sure it'll be in the description.
It for sure will, because I care.
Aw, gee, thanks, Sam.
If you're interested in finding out more about me, I should be better at this. I'm at Sam Gasch, SamGasch on Twitter. If you want to follow the podcast on Twitter or Instagram, we are at Ideal Remake. Or join us on Facebook, Ideal Remake or Ideal Remake Podcast. And yeah, if you like the decisions we made, good. And if you think we made some incorrect decisions, feel free to let us know. And if there's one thing that you can do for the podcast this week, it's please tell one person in your life about this show. It means a lot to me, and it would be incredibly helpful. Megan, thank you so much for being a guest on this week's episode of Ideal Remake. What is a quote from the movie Tank Girl that you would like to end on?
The best one is, what was the one? Oh, I'd like to stick around, but what was that?
I was just thinking about leaving this place. It's been swell, but the swelling's gone down.
Okay.
Go with that one?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with that one.